So today I want to review a book. The book I want to review this time is The Book of Psychic Symbols by Melanine Brown. I'm actually not quite sure how her name is to be pronounced, but yeah, this is the book. And what this is it's a symbol lexicon. What makes this, in my mind, a lot better than a lot of those symbol lexicons that you find out there is that it bases itself a lot on teaching the reader how to interpret these symbols for themselves. What I mean by that is that, for example, let's say the symbol of a coffee. For a lot of people, that shape means death, it's negative, it isn't something that you want to have in your life. However, for some people, they might remember those coffin-shaped muffins. Their grandmother used to make them for the spooky-themed birthdays, or something like that. And it might have a lot more positive meaning. Or let's take an apple. An apple has certain direct meanings in the typical lore of a symbol, but it also has a personal meaning. So that, let's say someone is deadly allergic to apples, and apples will have a completely different meaning for them than it would for someone else, and this book takes that into account. Now, other than that, you will find all sorts of symbols in here. You will find tarot cards, astrology symbols, Eastern symbols, mandalas, typical witch symbols, insects, all these sorts of things. And also, it explains how to interpret these symbols when they show up in your life, both in dreams and when you start seeing them all around you, and so on. This book also has exercises for how to work with the symbols. So yeah, before we get more into the book, this book is published by Llewellyn, and yeah, this is the back. This is the side, and again this is the front. Now, the negative things about this book is that it covers a lot of ground and the book isn't very big. As you can see, it is about, let's see, 271 pages with the index and the suggested reading in the back. So I think that some sort of this book tries to bite over too much. It gives a short little introduction to how to use the tarot, it gives a short little introduction how to do astrology, and so on and so forth, but it doesn't really give enough information with either of them to really use it. I think this book would have been better if it had focused less on telling you how to read tarot cards, and more how those tarot symbols would work in your life, just the symbolism of it. And also if it had kept to what it's supposed to be, instead of trying to be everything at once, but because then it gets rather cluttered. And that's another problem with this book. It is a cluttered one. It's not that easy to find what you're looking for. But let's have a look at the index. Oh, there's a picture of the author. Let me see if my camera picks it up. It does. Let me see. So we have some introduction. We have an introduction. Then you have a chapter which is why are psychic symbols important, which explains a little bit about how to use the book, how symbols affect our life, different ways that we can get psychic symbols, because it's not just through dreams or just like you are reading or you see something in a crystal ball and so on. So that definitely is one of the ways you can get such symbols. But sometimes, for example, sometimes you start seeing apples all around you. You open a magazine and it's a commercial or advertisement for apple juice there. Or you walk down the road and somebody drops an apple, and so on. There's apples, 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 apples. And then that too is a psychic symbol. And then we have a chapter that is named Where Symbolic Messages Come From, which, yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's a pretty good chapter. Understanding and applying your intuition and symbolic messages. Basically, it's about how to interpret such symbols, how we receive symbols, color symbolism, chakra and aura symbolism, religion, spirituality, culture and symbols, tarot symbols, personal symbols. I really like this chapter because it perhaps the most important symbols to us, both if we're going to use them in an occult practice, but also to interpret them in a psychic reading, is actually the symbols we make for ourselves. Both the symbols that we doodle up for ourselves, but also how things become symbolic for us. Like that song that played when you and your loved one first danced, that becomes symbolic to you. And your favorite toy as a child, that becomes symbolic to you. And these things get enormous amount of power because it is very connected to you. Symbolic dreams is another chapter, recognizing symbolic synchronization every day, which is, like I said, with those apples, or if you suddenly start to see green cars everywhere and that sort of thing. Using symbols to manifest your desires, basically how to use symbols in magic. And then you have some afterwards, conclusion, living symbolically, symbol glossary, bibliography, and recommended reading. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this book, and it do cover a lot of ground, and with the space it has, it does reasonably well. However, when you look at most symbol lexicons, at least the ones I have, they are enormous. And this covers a lot more ground than those, because those tend to just, this is the symbol, this is the meaning, yada yada yada, which culture it comes from, what religion it's from, and so on and so forth, on to the next one. While this covers a lot of how to use it, how to interpret it, how to use the symbols in your daily life, and so on. So it covers so much more ground, and the book just isn't big enough. That being said, I think this is an amazing book if you like working with symbols. I also think this would be a great book if you are making your own divination system. I think that working with runes, the tarot, and so on, all of that is amazing. However, I also think that this can be a very powerful learning experience to make your own divination system. Something that is customized just for you and how you interpret things and your energies. And I think this can help you do that. I also think this is a great way to understanding where the symbols we use in magic and ritual comes from. So yeah, I think this is a great book. I really recommend it. It has, like I said, two big problems. It is a bit jumbled, and some of the subjects doesn't get enough space. It sort of tries to chew more than it can swallow. But other than that, this is a great book. And that is my review of the Book of Psychic Symbols by Melanine Barnum. And I'll give this book 7 out of 10. Have a great day, and blessed be.